Right now, somewhere in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, a group of people are doing something that would be completely unrecognizable to the average person with a desk job. They are sitting together in the middle of the day, not working, not consuming media, not performing productivity for any audience. They are talking, telling stories, laughing, and occasionally doing nothing at all. This is not a vacation. This is how humans spent most of their time for 300,000 years. The modern idea that a well-lived human day is a maximally productive one is one of the strangest inventions in the history of our species. And understanding how your ancestors actually spent their hours reveals something uncomfortable about what we have lost, and something useful about what the human mind actually requires to function well. Start with the most important finding from anthropological research on living hunter-gatherer groups. The Hadza of northern Tanzania, the San of the Kalahari, the Tsimane of Bolivia, and dozens of other groups studied over the past century share a consistent pattern. The average adult spends roughly 2 to 4 hours per day on activities directly related to survival. Hunting, gathering, preparing food, maintaining tools, and shelter. That covers it. The rest of the day is free. Not free in the modern sense, where you are technically off the clock but still checking messages. Free in a structural sense. There is nothing you are supposed to be doing. Anthropologist Richard Lee published the first rigorous study of this in 1968, tracking time use among the Kung Bushmen to the minute. His results produced a minor academic crisis. The people Lee observed were living in one of the most demanding environments on Earth, the Kalahari Desert, and they were working roughly 15 hours a week. Not per day, per week. When this data was first presented, the instinctive response was to question the methodology. Researchers went back. They measured again. They used different groups, different environments, different seasons. The numbers were consistently low. Hunter-gatherers across cultures work far less than people in industrialized societies believed possible for human survival. So what did they do with the rest of their time? The answer, documented repeatedly across dozens of groups and multiple decades of fieldwork, is that they did the things humans are biologically designed to do when the immediate demands of survival are satisfied. They talked. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a landmark study in 2014 comparing the content of conversations among the Kalahari Bushmen during the day and around the evening fire. During daylight hours, about a third of conversation topics were practical: planning, coordination, information about food sources. Two-thirds were social, gossip about other people, comments about behavior, relational news. After dark, the proportion shifted dramatically. Evening conversation was more than 80% stories, narratives, humor, and imaginative speculation. Very little practical content at all. Wiesner argued that this pattern was not incidental. She proposed that evening campfire conversation, extended storytelling in low-light social settings, was the mechanism through which complex social norms were transmitted across generations. The stories told around the fire were not entertainment in the way we use that word. They were the legal system, the moral framework, the shared mythology that kept the group coherent. Children sitting in those circles were absorbing the operating rules of their society in a form the brain is optimized to receive and retain. This is also the origin of imagination as a survival tool. A hunter planning a route needs to mentally simulate terrain they have not walked yet. A person mediating a conflict between two group members needs to simultaneously hold multiple perspectives. A storyteller constructing a narrative about events that happened elsewhere needs to represent reality abstractly. All of these cognitive capacities, simulation, perspective-taking, abstract representation, are exercised and maintained through the same activities your ancestors spent their free time doing. They played. Every culture ever studied engages in games. Running, throwing, wrestling, strategy games played with stones or marked ground, games involving skill and chance, games that seem purely pointless from a survival standpoint. Researchers have identified play as a critical mechanism for developing the motor skills, strategic thinking, and social calibration that adult life requires. Children in hunter-gatherer groups play unsupervised for hours every day. Adults play too. The line between adult and child play is less sharply drawn than in modern societies. They made things. Beads carved from shells, patterns drawn in ochre on stone, geometric designs scratched into bone, instruments made from hollow wood or stretched animal skin. The archaeological record shows that humans have been making objects with no survival function for at least 75,000 years. Decoration, art, and music appear consistently alongside the other markers of anatomically modern human behavior. This is significant. An enormous amount of cognitive energy was being invested in activities that produced no food, no shelter, and no direct protection from predators. From a strict efficiency standpoint, this looks like waste. From a biological standpoint, it is not. The brain systems engaged by creative activity, narrative construction, aesthetic judgment, and musical rhythm are deeply connected to the social and emotional systems that regulate well-being. These activities were not luxuries, they were maintenance, they rested. This sounds almost too obvious to mention, but it has been systematically measured and it matters. Hunter-gatherers take naps. Most adults in the group studied nap regularly in the midday heat, typically for 30 minutes to an hour. They also sleep longer than people in industrialized societies, roughly 7 to 8 hours per night, with some variation by season and group. The consistent pattern across groups is that the body is treated as something that requires real recovery rather than something to be pushed as far as possible before collapsing. Now consider what is missing from this picture. There is no inbox. There is no commute. There is no separation between the place you work, the place you live, and the place you recover. There is no concept of a weekend because no particular day is more demanding than any other. The rhythm of effort and rest is not imposed from outside by a schedule, but regulated from inside by the body and the group. The chronic diseases that dominate modern mortality, depression, anxiety, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, most autoimmune conditions, are dramatically less common in the populations whose lifestyle most closely resembles what your biology was built for. This is not romanticizing a harder life. Hunter-gatherers face serious risks, violence, childbirth complications, infections, and accidents that modern medicine handles routinely. The comparison is not about total health outcomes. It is about the specific disease patterns that emerge when a biological system is operated outside the conditions it was shaped for. Your brain did not evolve for the schedule it is currently running. It evolved for 2 to 4 hours of focused physical effort, long stretches of unstructured social time, evening storytelling, regular creative play, and genuine rest. The Hadza man napping in the shade in the middle of the afternoon is not being lazy. He is living exactly the way 300,000 years of human biology prepared him to live. The rest of us are the experiment.